Alright everyone, on January 20th all hell might break loose, so, there's not even sure we'll have a January 21st. Maybe it'll trigger a nuclear war. I'm sure that there will be violence. That's at a bare minimum there's going to be significant political struggle on the 20th, but let's assume that the next day dawns and there's not been a nuclear war or a violent revolution or something. I think that Trump should immediately, once he's a private citizen, he should sue all the MSM sources for slander. Here's why, and big tech as well. Here's why. He has lost political position, his reputation, and potentially, because he's self-branded and marketed, billions of dollars in potential post-presidential income, because he has been said to have fomented an insurrection. This is objectively false. Even if you look at Twitter, and also, by the way, Facebook, and their meanderings about why they banned Donald Trump, they don't claim that he actually tried to start a coup. They just claim that his fans interpreted him as wanting a coup. That's interesting. By banning him, you are essentially saying he's broken the law. You're defaming him. You're removing income from him. He can't sue you right now for defamation. He's a political figure. Political figures, by and large, lose the ability to sue for defamation. Because someone can always say they were satirizing them as a public figure, not as a person. You're already taxpayer funded. You don't suddenly lose your presidential salary because I defamed you, and so you can't sue. In order to sue for defamation, you have to prove damages. Unfortunately, we do not have a system in which you can sue simply because someone is lying about you unless you can prove that it caused a significant fiscal detriment to your life or imminent harm or something like that. Like you claim someone's a pedophile and then they get hit in the face because someone thinks they're a pedophile even though they're not, they can sue you. But if you say that someone is a pederast or whatever, in a vacuum, it's going to be difficult for them to do anything other than say you're just, ironically enough, that you're disturbing the peace or engaged in potentially criminal harassment. But they can't claim damages in a civil court, generally speaking. But on January the 21st, Donald Trump's not a public figure anymore. The stories will still be there. The bans will still be in place. All of the lurid tales about him committing an insurrection and attempting to stage a coup will still be there. They are illegal. They're defamatory in nature. If you look through what Trump said in his videos, in his tweets, wherever, not one judge in the land who has an IQ in the 3-digit range is going to look at what he said and say that they were going to cause imminent harm. If someone interprets your words as meaning something that they are not, and you can't show that that person actually meant to dog whistle, actually meant to insinuate that you should do something violent or illegal, that's not incitement. It really isn't. If I tell my fans to fight for liberty and someone interprets that as me telling them to build Molotov cocktails and they burn down a police station, I am not going to get arrested for arson or incitement. Why? I didn't tell them to do that. I told them to fight for liberty. You can interpret that any way that you want. You can interpret it in generally the most nonviolent sense. A struggle for liberty. Speak out. Refuse to be silent. Get an alt-tech account. That's what I mean. If they interpret it incorrectly, it doesn't matter. Not as far as my life goes. Big tech and the MSM have become judge, jury, and executioner, though, to independently interpret whatever is said by a person who happens to be a public figure. Trump is not, by the way, the first example of this happening. In order to insinuate that the person either meant to cause harm or imminently possibly could, and therefore is too toxic to allow them to speak freely. This is defamation. They are not supposed to be doing that. They're supposed to be neutral carriers, but that ship has sailed. At this point, I don't think that that's going to be a genie put back into the bottle. To be clear, Congress is controlled by these freaks of nature, so I wouldn't rely upon them to do anything about it. But Trump can point to a judge, drag someone into court, and say, look, Twitter is claiming that me saying that I didn't want to go to the inauguration would cause imminent harm, and they banned me for it. They explicitly state this in their own presser. Zuckerberg does the same with Facebook and Instagram. But the thing is that no reasonable person would construe that as incitement. If you say that a lunatic fringe might misinterpret what somebody said and therefore the person is responsible for the lunatic fringe's actions, again, you're going to get laughed out of court by a judge. Trump can potentially clean up, by the way. Trump might be the most successful post-president in U.S. history, too. Because he's got the money to wage hundreds of legal battles, potentially, and he should. He'll get billions in settlements. He'll shoot up into the top 100 richest people in the world again. I think he's outside of that at the moment. He'll be massively wealthy. And it'll be actual cash. It'll be actual wealth, not just skyscrapers and golf resorts and shit. He'll be able to buy 10 more. He'll be able to buy all of Atlantic City. Then he can short sell it again and fuck up. That was his biggest blunder, by the way, in his life. That and Trump steaks. That didn't work so well. Trump Vineyard's a little bit better. I guess the wine is pretty good. Trump, not only can he do that, he can either buy up or co-opt all of alt tech, popularizing it, and I don't know, he could increase, today, if he got on to an alt tech video host, the video host would probably flatline immediately because of new people joining the fucking site. He could, by the way, and people have discussed this. If he wanted to at the moment, he could use the emergency messaging system that goes to everyone's phones to talk to them Twitter style. People are joking about that. Oh, I expect to get a text message from the president today saying, many such cases of censorship. It's very sad and our republic is under stress. Or something. He should do that. He should just fucking troll the system for the next 10 days. By the way, pardon Assange. Pardon Snowden. That's the one thing left to do is a couple of pardons, I think. If he does that, then he'll go down not just as a good president, which is already what I mark him as, but a great one. Instead of being like a Reagan 6 out of 10er, like a pretty good president, which, you know, seems stellar by comparison to the last 4 freaks before him. George W., failure. Obama, failure. Herbert Walker, failure. Clinton, vaguely palatable and mediocre, like a 4 out of 10. And that's mainly not because of anything he did. You have to go back to Reagan to find a president as good as him. He could be better than that, though. If he pardons Assange right now, I'm going to flip out and do a little celebratory dance. That'd be hilarious. If he used the emergency broadcasting system, it'd be even funnier. But his video messages and tweets they're all archived. They're not incitement. Twitter probably violated the federal court's ruling by preventing him from having his account anyway because it was ruled explicitly it's a public platform. They just decided to alienate tens of millions of Americans and violate their equal access rights by removing that platform. That's basically what they did. Billionaires decided to violate the Constitution on 4 or 5 different levels a few days ago. That's about all. Peace out.